Bill drove into the driveway of his house. After a hard day of work, he was ready to relax. Bill entered the house and went into the kitchen to get some food. As he walked into the kitchen, he noticed a brown paper sack on the counter. Bill also noticed that on the sack there were bold letters written in Sharpie markers saying, "For you, Bill." He was confused. He didn't have a family member or a girlfriend that lived with him, so who could this bag be from? Bill picked up the sack and took a peek inside. He was immediately disgusted at what he saw, for it was a sack full of cockroaches. And there wasn't just a few either. It seemed like there were at least 50 of them in there. Bill, in disgust, threw the paper sack back on the counter. The sack fell on its side, and the cockroaches crawled out of the bag and started to run all over the counter. What sick bastard would do this? Bill said in both anger and disgust. Then he felt something crawling on both of his legs. In fact, he felt multiple things crawling on his legs. He looked down and saw that there were multiple cockroaches on him. Bill began frantically swiping off the cockroaches that were on his legs in fear and disgust. "What the hell is going on?" Bill said angrily. He looked all around the kitchen. He saw that there were cockroaches and beetles all over the place. They were on the walls, the floor, the counter, the cabinets. They were just everywhere. Bill didn't know what to do, so he began stomping and crushing every bug he saw. "Die, you little bastards!" Bill was practically in berserk mode with all the bugs he was killing. Then he felt someone grab him, turn him around, and put him in a chokehold. He looked at the thing that was chokeholding him. This man, or this thing, whatever it was, it confused Bill because it looked somewhat human, but yet so different at the same time. This thing had dark gray skin, bright red eyes, black hair, incredibly sharp teeth, and all his clothes were black. As the thing held Bill in a chokehold, Bill noticed that there were cockroaches emerging from under the thing's sleeve. The cockroaches crawled onto Bill. As the bugs slowly crawled on him, he felt as if they were eating him alive. He felt like the roaches were tearing and devouring his skin. Now, don't struggle. They'll only bite harder," the thing said to Bill. "What the hell are you?" "Oh, what am I? Well, I'm the Beetle Man," the thing known as the Beetle Man said in a rather amused tone. "Now I'm bored of you." Then in a moment's notice, all that could be heard was a snap. The Beetle Man dropped Bill's corpse onto the ground. "Finish him, my little pets." Beetles and roaches began to crawl onto Bill, and they started to devour his body. I was 13 years old when I stopped trick-or-treating. The other kids weren't so eager to give up free candy, but something happened that year. Something awful. My friends Owen, Drew, and I were out tricking for candy when we came to a house that had a big bowl of it sitting on the porch. A sign above it read, "Please, take just one." We joked about swiping it all, but Owen and Drew only took a few each, enough to make them feel like badass kids. I'd always be afraid to take more than one, because I was intimidated by authority. Sure, it was just a sign, and it usually meant that the owner wasn't home, but I was a timid kid who always did what he was told. Owen and Drew explained how that house did the same thing every year, and that people rarely saw the guy who lived there. They dared me to do what they were too chicken to, so I decided to see what it felt like to do something naughty. We looked around to make sure no one was watching, and I poured the contents of the bowl into my bag. The three of us ran down the street, laughing and shoving each other. Part of me expected someone to chase after us. In hindsight, I was right to be concerned. At Owen's house, we dumped out and sorted all of our yummy treasures. I tried to offer him and Drew some of the contraband candy, but they refused. I remember Owen saying, "That's all you, dude," and Drew shouting, "I don't want your tainted treats." Granted, they weren't serious, but I was annoyed that they weren't sharing in the responsibility, enough to go home instead of sleeping over. That night, I was torn from a sugar-fueled dream by a hand over my mouth and a knife to my neck. The skin was rough, and the blade was ice cold. It was just slightly pressing into my skin, ready to slit my throat at a moment's notice. My body went stiff. I wanted to scream, but then a gruff voice whispered, "Don't make a fucking sound." At first, I didn't realize what was happening. Were we being burglarized? Then, I got my answer. "Can't you read, you little shit? The sign said just one. Just fucking one." I'll never forget those words, and the sickening smell of his breath. He went on to explain how every year he would catch kids taking 2 or 3 pieces of candy, which always angered him. It wasn't until I took the entire bowl that he finally snapped. Why did I do something so stupid? I was terrified and humiliated at the same time. "You want candy, you little shit?" he asked me, so I shook my head as much as I could, despite his hand pressing against my face. He then removed it, still holding the knife to my neck, and proceeded to shove unwrapped candy into my mouth. I tried not to inhale, but I couldn't help it. I could feel things pushing against the back of my throat as I whimpered and drooled. I started to gag, but he put his hand back over my mouth so I wouldn't cough anything up. I truly believed I was going to die, and I feared for my friends as well. My short life quickly flashed before my eyes. All I could think in that moment was, how could an adult hate children this much? Everything I presumed about them was suddenly a lie. They weren't infallible, and their authority wasn't always law. Fine. So I took all the guys' candy. Did I really deserve to die? As I contemplated this for the first time, expecting to suffocate to death, my father rushed into the room, grabbed my metal desk chair, and beat the living daylights out of the guy. I never loved my dad so much as I did that night. I'm an adult now, and I live alone in a nice house on a quiet street with lots of kids. Every Halloween, I leave a basket on my front step full of candy with a sign that reads, "Take as many as you want." My sister had a teddy bear, a scary teddy bear. I did not know why, but it creeped me out. It was just so disturbing to me. The thing had eyes that looked so real. It was as if it was made from a real bear, and its face was just blank and unsettling. I first started to get weird feelings about the bear when my sister first got it. She was only a baby at the time, and I was about 4. We had a dog, you see, and he had a habit of eating things, so my mother always had to put it up on the small cabinet in the corner of the hallway upstairs. Every time I went up those stairs, I saw that creepy bear suddenly glare around the corner at me, as if it was just watching me. This wasn't the weird part. It started to get really weird. About 5 years later, at the age of 6 or 7, my sister had a lost interest in the bear, so my mother just threw it in the old toy cupboard. The only problem was that the cupboard was in my room. When I was 9, old enough to stay on my own and go to bed without any assistance, I would get into my bed every night and turn my lamp off. This is when it got scary. As I was getting some sleep, I suddenly remembered Mom putting that teddy in the cupboard. I slowly turned to look over across my room to see it through the glass. My heart suddenly stopped as I thought about the horrors the plush had caused me. But at the age of 9, I wanted to grow up and lose my fears, so I just shook it off and put my head on the pillow. When I got to pull my sheets on a bit further, I noticed something that would scar me for life. There sat, at the end of my bedroom, the teddy. My heart started beating normally again. I sat there, staring at it for about a minute. When I needed to yawn, I closed my eyes. I opened them to see the teddy sitting closer to my bed. At this point, I was really freaked out. I started to move back to the wall and looked around to see if there was any sign that anyone had come in. When I looked back to see the teddy on the end of my bed, I was so startled that I almost fainted from fear. When I blinked, it had gone. I looked around. To my relief, I saw no sign of it. I sat my head back down on my pillow, hoping for some sleep. Then I opened my eyes. It was above my head, staring straight down. I screamed as it lunged down at me. I will never see a bear the same way again. A few years later, after years of horror, I burned it. I sat in enjoyment as the bear was turned to smoke and ashes in my fireplace. I have lived my teenage life through adolescence. The only thing I could remember that was any way similar to my bad experience was when I watched Trainspotting. That fucking baby scene shocked me so badly, but other than that, all was well. When I turned 19, I was about to move into my new home. I had been given the keys to the house, and was ready to set up my furniture. After hours of carrying, I carried the final box from the removal truck into the front door and shut the door behind me. I turned to go into the kitchen and put it on the table. I opened it to see a cabinet. I took it out and walked into my new living room and placed it in the corner, stared at it, and thought to myself, I don't remember packing this cabinet. I didn't really care that much, as I had just moved into my new home. I walked back into the kitchen to grab my television and brought it into the living room. When I saw it, the teddy, it just sat there, staring at me. File _038 -S _9 FCP Federal Containment Program. Beginning of file. Subject 001. Name Melina. Age unknown. Class danger. Subject 001 was successfully contained on the date of. However, 001 has escaped as of. Reasons subject is wanted. Subject 001, also known as Melina, is reported to have been in contact with otherworldly entities. Further questioning of 001 about these entities has been unsuccessful. Subject 001 was contained/wanted due to murdering several civilians, having odd abilities/strength, and for having contact with what are believed to be demons from another dimension, or as she calls it, the underworld. Description of murders. 001 is known to brutally murder her victims. Of how the subject murders her victims is as described here. 001 is known to remove the arms of the victim. Of how she does this is with a sharp knife, and then 001 simply shoots one bullet into the head of the victim. After 001 has murdered her victim, she then continues to carve a pentagram-like symbol onto the victim's head. Interestingly enough, this symbol has been seen before. Back when the Amorley killers were around, they also left the same symbol on their victim's body. Escape of subject. The escape of 001 is as explained by. I was simply watching the cameras that were focused on 001, but then I saw a tall devil-like creature in the room by 001. It was as if it just appeared in the blink of an eye. Then 001 and the creature disappeared. Not knowing what to do, I then authorized a containment breach. Recapture protocols. If 001 is seen, she is to be immediately contained. 001 may only be destroyed if necessary. Otherwise, termination is not approved nor allowed. My Mother-in-Law from Hell. Written by Manon_Lyset. My mother-in-law never liked me. From the moment we met, she made no effort to hide her feelings about my relationship with her daughter. As soon as my girlfriend left the room, her mother glared at me and said, "I don't like you. I don't want you dating my daughter." Her voice was cold as ice, digging into my heart like a dagger. I was shocked. I wasn't used to this kind of aggression, especially not from the get-go. Some people are just more attached than others, and my girlfriend's mother was one of those types. What was I supposed to do? I liked my girlfriend. Hell, I could see a future with her. I didn't want to let her mother ruin the most meaningful relationship I had in years, so I gave her a weak smile and shrugged. I replied, "Sorry, but I'm not going anywhere." She didn't take it well. The coffee table was upturned, books were scattered, and she even went so far as to put a dent in the wall. I was afraid of how my girlfriend would react to the chaos, so I quickly started tidying the mess, while her mother stormed out of the room like a bat out of hell. I could hear her angered howls all the way down the hall as I straightened her photo frames and checked for damage. Over the next few months, I grew closer to my girlfriend, which only seemed to anger her mother even more. I admit, moving into their house was definitely a mistake on my part. I thought we'd learn to coexist. Maybe she'd see that I wasn't such a bad guy if she got to know me. Instead, she continuously berated me, called me a bum, a mooch, a lowlife, and every other name in the book. At night, whenever I tried to cozy up to my girlfriend, her mother would bang on the walls in protest. Last December, I decided I was going to propose to my girlfriend on Christmas Eve. Family be damned. I loved her, and I wanted to spend the rest of my life with her. Still, I did the gentlemanly thing and asked for her mother's blessing. I waited for my girlfriend to leave the house, sat down in the living room, and nervously fiddled with the engagement ring. "Listen, I know we got off on the wrong foot," I started. I could feel her cold, furious glare on me, but I kept my head down. "But listen, I love your daughter, and she loves me. I want to propose. Would you please give me your blessing? I promise I'll make her happy." She cut me off. "My blessing?" she screeched. "You don't have my blessing. You'll never have my blessing. She needs to find a good Christian boy, not a scumbag like you." She ripped the ring out of my hands, jerked the window open, and threw it into the woods behind her house. She really hated me with every fiber of her being. Ring or no ring, blessing or no blessing, I still proposed to my girlfriend on schedule. I'll never forget the look on my girlfriend's face. She was standing in front of the Christmas tree, legs shaking, as she sobbed so hard she couldn't answer. She just nodded and presented her hand, waiting for the cheap ring I'd bought as a replacement. Meanwhile, her mother stood in the corner, with venomous rage, sipping out of every orifice. I could tell she wanted me to know she thought I'd never be good enough for her daughter. I thought I'd have peace on our wedding day this weekend, but my fiancé insisted on bringing her mother's urn to the church. As I kissed my wife for the first time, her mother watched eagle-eyed from the rafters above. And now she's insisting we put the urn on the mantel in our new house. Damn it. Hello and welcome everyone to audio briefing number 2. Today we are taking a look at file _9_28. This audio briefing is hosted and funded by the Federal Containment Program. Beginning, subject 002, name unknown, although it does go by the analysis of the Crimson Devil, for obvious reasons. Age 27, or at least that's what we think. Class danger. Seriously, people, stay away from this thing, it's not friendly. Subject 002 was successfully contained by personnel of on the date of reasons subject is wanted. Subject 002 is believed to be a demon of another dimension. This dimension is believed to be the same dimension that subject 001 mentioned before she escaped. 001 referred to this dimension as the underworld. 002 has abnormal abilities, which include but are not limited to incredible strength, speed, intelligence, having contact with other dimensions, and also having the ability to perfectly mimic a person's voice, even if the subject has not heard the person's voice before. 002 has admitted to having previous contact with subject 001. In fact, 002 admitted to once being great friends with 001. Personnel have questioned 002 on the whereabouts of 001, but this has proved fruitful, because 002 claims to not know. As of now, questioning about 001 to 002 will be discontinued. Description of murders. 002 uses a large axe to cleanly cut off the head of his victims. 002 will use his ability to mimic a person's voice to lure his victims. Once the subject has murdered someone similar to 001, he will carve a pentagram-like symbol onto the victim's body. Description of subject. 002 resembles a devil-like creature. His skin is a bright crimson color. On 002's head, there seems to be a blue, glowing cross, while his eye color is a dark green. End of document. 002 is not to be released by any means necessary. If 002 is to escape, this could be a great risk to our Foundation being discovered. This has been audio briefing number 2 of file _9_28. This file is now concluded. You look at the image. You don't know what to feel. Scared? Weirded out? You can't help but look into its eyes and look at its bizarre smile. You still looked at the image, unaware of how much time had passed. You looked at the clock beside you. It was 10 till 3. You look back at the image. The image had changed to a more demonic look. It was now even more bizarre than before. You hear a growl erupt from behind you. You turn around, and you come face to face to a husky. Not just any husky, but a husky with a bizarre smile. The teeth looked as if they belonged to a human. The creature stares into your soul. Of course, you stare back. You can't help but smile back at the creature. The next thing you know, everything fades to black. You didn't die in vain, but you died with a smile, for the smile dog had done it again. Another victim, another day. Item number SCP-1471. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. All mobile devices that have SCP-1471 installed are to be confiscated and analyzed for any potential leads to other possibly affected devices. Afterwards, affected devices are to have their batteries removed, be assigned a designation, and be placed in Storage Unit 91 at Research Site 45. All online application stores for mobile devices are to be monitored to prevent any advertent sales of SCP-1471. Suspected devices are to be targeted using self-uploading malware in order to disable the device until it can be seized by field agents. Description: SCP-1471 is a free 9.8 MB application for mobile devices named Malo version 1.0.0 in online application stores. SCP-1471 has no listed developer and it is somehow able to bypass the application approval process to go directly to distribution. SCP-1471 is also able to avoid removal by other Program Manager applications. After SCP-1471 is installed, no icons or shortcuts are created for the application. SCP-1471 will then begin to send the individual images through text messaging every 3 to 6 hours. All images will contain SCP-1471-A either within the background or foreground. SCP-1471-A appears as a large humanoid figure with a canid-like skull and black hair. During the first 24 hours following the installation of SCP-1471, the mobile device will receive images taken at locations commonly visited by the individual. After 48 hours, the mobile device will receive images taken at locations that were recently visited by the individual. After 72 hours, the mobile device will receive images of the individual in real time, with SCP-1471-A appearing within close proximity to the subject. Individuals with 90 hours of exposure to these continuous images will begin to briefly visualize SCP-1471 within their peripheral vision, reflective surfaces, or a combination of the two. Continued exposure to SCP-1471 after this point will cause irreversible and sustained visualizations of SCP-1471-A. Individuals at this stage have reported periodic attempts made by SCP-1471-A to visually communicate with them, but fail to understand or comprehend these actions. Currently, the only known treatment to reverse SCP-1471's effect is to eliminate the individual's visual exposure to these images prior to 90 hours after installation. To date, no apparent hostile activity has been reported regarding SCP-1471-A. Archival Document 1471-01. Note: SCP-1471 as posted on application stores. Milo. Free. Reviews 0. 4. Never settle over those awkward feelings of being alone ever again. Milo is an exciting and interactive experience that will keep you engaged and intrigued. The anxiety of social situations can be nerve-wracking, but after just a few hours of Milo, you will soon forget all about those painful emotions of disappointment. Be part of the new craze that is quickly becoming the next social substitute. Remember, the more you participate, the more Milo will engage you. Your experience is completely up to you. Absolutely no ads. Enjoy. The buzzing of my alarm goes off, waking me up. I turn off the alarm. The time on it reads 4:39 a.m. I thought it was strange that my alarm went off 2 hours early, but I didn't pay much attention to it. Knowing that I wouldn't be able to go back to sleep, I walked to the kitchen. I grabbed a drink, but at the corner of my eye, I saw something odd. I saw an excessive amount of ink on the ground. The ink looked thick, and the color of it looked like a mixture of both purple and black. I walked up to the ink on the ground. However, instead of it just looking like a spill, it looked deep in a way, if that even makes sense. The ink looked like a never-ending ocean, with no bottom. Then, something grabbed my foot and pulled me into the ink. Everything went black. I opened my eyes, and I was just in a black void. There was nothing and no one, except for him. He was just standing there, doing nothing. His appearance was very dark. He wore a gray jacket, black pants, and some sort of bizarre smiley face mask. He walks to me, unable to move, due to me feeling like I'm being held down, and very terrified. He puts his hand around my throat, and pulls a Bowie knife from the black void. "Do you want to be just like me, my friend?" I don't respond. Not because I don't want to, but because I can't. I can't move, talk, or anything. He starts to cut the knife into my throat, and I feel tears coming down my face as he does so. The thing is, I'm not really happy. It's just a mask that covers my real emotions. So in other words, I'm not gonna make you happy. I'm gonna make you like me, which is, of course, meaningless and dead. Hello everyone, and welcome to audio briefing number 3 that is hosted and funded by the Federal Containment Program. File underscore 789-062/9 with JPEG. Subject 062, object sand container, class danger, not able to kill. Reasons subject is wanted. Subject 062 is a decorative sand container that is shaped like a gorilla. However, this object, while it seems innocent, it is actually very abnormal. We collected this object from a civilian by the name of... The civilian will be referred to as 062-1 for the rest of this document. According to 062-1, ever since they got the object, they started to have extreme nightmares. In some of these nightmares, 062-1 said that they would get torn apart by multiple humanoid gorillas. 062-1 also reported having multiple cases of sleep paralysis, in which the same humanoid gorillas from the nightmares would haunt 062-1. 062-1 also reported seeing devil-like creatures in their peripheral vision. 062 seems to haunt whoever its current owner is. At this time, no other side effects are known. Ever since we took 062 and put it in containment, 062-1 reports no longer having any of the side effects that are mentioned above. However, we will keep 062-1 in containment for the next couple of months to see if there are any remaining side effects. Cell. Subject 062 is to be kept in a 9 meter by 10 centimeter wall glass container. How it infects. Subject 062 seems to know its victim by touch, and it also seems to know its victim by whoever it is frequently around or most likely to be around. In other words, it seems to be cursed. However, similar to 062-1, if the cursed individual stays away from the item for at least 48 hours, the curse seems to fade away. Capture protocols. 062 is to be picked up using a separate object rather than someone's hands, obviously to avoid such a curse. After that, it is to be put into its cell. 062 is monitored by camera cam 87-01. A new person every week is sent to watch the camera. That way we can best avoid this bizarre curse. Description. Subject 062 is a sand container shaped into a gorilla. If an individual looks close enough at the item, they will be able to see several numbers, more specifically the number 7. Inside the container is multicolored sand, and the color seems to be mixed up, making a purplish color. A few months ago, a friend of mine, who is a nature photographer, decided to spend a day and night alone in the woods, outside of our town. She wanted to get photos of the woods and wildlife as naturally as she could for her portfolio. She wasn't afraid of being alone, as she had camped by herself many times before. She set up a tent in the middle of a small clearing and spent the day taking pictures. She filled up 4 rolls of film on that trip, but when she went and got them developed, she saw 4 pictures that unsettled her. These 4 pictures were taken from inside the tent, of her, asleep in the middle of the night. It is time to go. That is what I have been hearing in my head for the entire day. It sounds like a low hissing, but yet I'm still able to understand what it is saying. The fact that I've been hearing it for the past 10 hours, non-stop, is driving me crazy. I can't stand it anymore. Ever since it got dark out, the voice has gotten more aggressive. It is time to go. The voice now says more aggressively. What is happening? Am I going crazy or something? I pace around my house, trying to think what I can do to stop the constant voice in my head. But as I was pacing around, I stopped at the mirror in my hallway. There's a thing right by me. A demon, if you will. Now terrified, I run to my room and lock my door. I turn back, and I see the same damn demon again. The creature has charred black skin, as if it were burnt alive at one point. Hell, I can swear I can see bits of human on him, as if he were once human as well. What are you, and what do you want? Well, let's get things straight. I'm not here for you. My name, it doesn't matter. But I have been told to tell you to look out the window. I give the demon a confused look, and I obviously look out the window. I see a man wearing a white mask, a gray jacket, black pants, and he's standing by an enormously tall demon. What do they want? I turn back to the demon, but he's gone. I look out the window, and they as well disappeared. Then I hear my door open, despite the fact that my door was locked. The same man from outside enters my room, and he is also dragging a sledgehammer against the ground. He takes his mask off and smiles slightly. I'm sorry, love, but the things you've done, I just can't allow you to continue living. He puts his mask down and grips his hammer. Before I knew it, he takes the hammer and swings it at my leg, snapping it out of place. I fall to the ground as tears come out of my eyes. By the way, the name's Jake, just so you know who's killing you. Thought it'd be nice to let you know. He raises the hammer in the air and swings it at my face. Honestly, I thought I was gonna have a good Christmas, but now I know that's not going to happen because of it. I'm sorry, I got ahead of myself. Let me start at the beginning of how this all happened. The night was Christmas Eve, and it was relatively late at night, so I sent my child off to bed, knowing that he would need a good night's sleep for the big day ahead. A couple hours after I got done setting up all the presents under the tree and wrapping up all the presents that weren't wrapped up, I went to bed. As I was trying to go to bed, though, I couldn't help but feel as if there was a presence watching me. I just felt like there was something in my house. Of course, being curious and scared, I looked all around the house to see if anyone was hiding, but as I figured, there was no one. After all that, I went to bed, putting off the feeling like someone was watching me, figuring it was just my imagination. Then I woke up to a noise. It was the noise of bells and chains shaking and dragging against the ground. I didn't know what this was, or what was happening. Ah, too naughty. You had all the chances to be good, but you didn't take them. Now did you? I heard coming from the living room. The voice sounded like something demonic and deep. No, please, don't hurt me. That was my son's voice replying to whatever that thing was. In a hurry, I ran out of my bedroom and ran to the living room. What I saw was horrifying. I saw a tall goat-like creature that had chains and bells all around its body, and it seemed to have been wearing an old, dirty cloak. The creature was holding a mutilated corpse of my son. It was gruesome. I almost threw up right then and there. The creature smiled at me, and looked back at the corpse, as if it was admiring its work. I began to cry profusely as the realization of what had just happened came over me. My son is dead, and if I was just awake, I could have stopped this all from happening. But I wasn't. I fell to my knees and looked up at the beast. "Why?" I managed to mutter out. "Because he wasn't good, and Krampus doesn't like naughty children."